everyone, and welcome back to episode 10 of the Dragon Radar podcast. We are your hosts, Heeroh and Ajoten. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing very, very well, as usual. Good for a Dragon Ball discussion. Yourself?
I'm also doing very well, and also ready for a discussion, so let's jump into it with Roshi's rant.
This is Roshi's Rant.
This is Roshi's Rant, the segment of the podcast where we deep dive into a particular topic regarding Dragon Ball. And aptly named this week, we are talking about Master Roshi and whether or not he would get cancelled in today's day and age if Dragon Ball was released now. So, yeah, first thoughts I think is pretty obvious as a yes. But let's talk about it. So, original Dragon Ball was released in 1986. You've got to remember, it's a different time, way back when, and things were different, and the PC culture wasn't as bad back then. But yeah, what do you think about Master Roshi?
Yeah, I think especially in OG Dragon Ball, he was really bad back then. I think I was, when we originally talked about it, I know specifically in Super, they went out their way. I mean, there was a mini arc where they actually redeemed him, I suppose.
Yeah.
They actually went out their way to make him redeem his questionable qualities. Except they did it in the worst way possible by locking him in a room to deal with his urges by basically locking him away with Poir.
Yeah, poor Poir.
Poir as a woman, and it's just like that's the weirdest way possible they could have done that.
Yeah, it's like, what type of therapy is this? What are they putting him through? You know, what are they putting Poir through in all of this?
Like, Master Roshi might have been fixed, but that'll haunt Poir forever.
Yeah, what type of things did Poir witness when transformed? Oof.
Like, why did they deserve that of all things?
Yeah.
But I mean, so they obviously recognize that they can't keep have Master Roshi doing that, and especially some of the things he was doing back in original Dragon Ball. I mean, the original introduction for Goku was probably the prime example, I would suppose. I mean,
yeah, there was a lot of moments in original Dragon Ball that were questionable. Like the first time Krillin is introduced to Master Roshi, he kind of bribes him with dirty magazines to let him train, which works. And that's kind of like, okay, Master Roshi is this type of character, okay. And they don't try to hide that fact in any point during original Dragon Ball, during Dragon Ball Z, or even during Super. Like you've just mentioned, they try to fix him, but they still recognize he is just a dirty old man. Except it's kind of accepted in the show and just in general, like, yeah, Master Roshi's a bit of a dirty old man, but that's just him. He's a funny guy, but it's like, also, should this be allowed? The type of things he does, is it not extremely questionable? And, you know, I personally feel, even though I love Master Roshi as a character, overall, these actions are something that, if this show was released today, it wouldn't fly. Not at all.
No. It would be like, if someone said, like, there's this brand, like there's the, like, the big animes at the minute, so things like Demon Slayer and everything like that everybody's talking about, and they're all over Netflix and everybody loves them. If Dragon Ball got released like that, it had never been on, and then you had a character like Master Roshi, he would be all over Twitter trending straight away.
Yeah.
He would be the focus of it.
Because imagine
it wouldn't be Goku.
Imagine trying to pitch him as a character for a new show. Say, like, okay, right, we want to train the main guy with this old man, except we're gonna make him this really old perverted guy who reads dirty magazines, watches stuff on TVs, tries to touch women and everything, but he's a good guy, and we're supposed to find him funny, and we're supposed to like him. It's like, is that gonna work? Like some of the things he does are extremely questionable. One of the worst ones being in original Dragon Ball in my eyes is that when he's trying to train Goku and Krillin, and Launch is also on the island, he buys Launch lingerie just because he wants to see her dressed up, and he tells her that it's a training outfit, and to kind of prove to her that that is what it is, him, Goku, and Krillin all wear the same lingerie outfit to train in, and it's like, no, this is just him being a massive pervert. And when Launch transforms into blonde Launch, you know, she realizes this because she's not as dim-witted and tries to shoot him, which is fair enough and a reasonable response, I think. And yeah, I miss Launch.
I don't know, like, I think the one blackmailing Bulma to see her underwear
yeah,
is probably worse, especially when Bulma hadn't realized that Goku had stolen her underwear.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of Bulma, when
the entire storyline there is just wrong. Never mind just the Master Roshi part of it.
Yeah, I mean, he's
what
done
was
a
this
lot of
show
stuff
back then when you think about it?
Yeah, imagine, like, again, going back to original Dragon Ball, Bulma in this is early teenager, and you know, this old man who lives by himself with a turtle is kind of just hanging around with her a lot. And you know, there's even one point where he transforms himself to be really small and sneaks into the bathroom while she's in there. This happens twice, not just one time, twice. One when she's trying to use the toilet, one where she's trying to take a bath. And yeah, you know, the first time wasn't bad enough. He goes back for it a second time, and it's like, come on. For the time, maybe understandable, funny humor, haha, that he fails and what he's trying to do, but also just thinking about it in retrospect, extremely creepy, and this cannot happen at all. This should not happen.
And I think it's even when he's trying to be like a really good teacher, like he's doing the Jackie Chun at the tournament, and it's like, so he's trying to teach him a very moral lesson, and it's like, it's quite there's meaning behind it, and it's like, it's a genuine lesson and everything like that. It's like, as soon as Krillin throws a pair of underwear at him, it all goes out the window. He just jumps at the underwear and ignores Krillin. Yeah. Screw the lesson, screw anything that was important. Underwear.
Yeah. They play up to his character more in Super by trying to redeem him, like you said, but also when it's almost like a fighting technique to him now to be pervy towards women fighters. Like when he takes on Yurin from Tien's dojo, you know, he's basically intimidating her by being a pervert. And you know, when her like strap breaks on her outfit, you know, he's like, I'm gonna warn you, some stuff might happen and it's not my fault. And it's like, what? And then he's going in for the attack like this with his like claws up, and it's like, what is this? What is happening here? And she's terrified and tries to run away. And the same thing happens in the Tournament of Power as well. He does a similar thing in the tournament to one of the fighters, and it works because he eliminates her. And Beerus even says, "Well done, old man. Keep it up." Like, I mean, yeah, he's using this for the goodness of the universe, I guess, but also questionable in how he's doing it.
Yeah. But the thing is, like even the way he's saying it there, but the actual actions that he's taking, like in Z as well, like actually grabbing at people, he actually is physically doing it in Z. Like with the whole Bulma thing as a teenager, he does that to Videl in up on the tower when they're hiding from Boo. Basically, he goes to thank her and he walks all the way up to her and basically just prods her right in the middle of the chest. Clearly looking down at her chest, just prodding away. And obviously Vidal's just like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And then Piccolo's walking Boo about, obviously trying to kill time. And so you've got Krillin and Bulma, and they're all cuddled in a circle talking. Basically, it just focuses on Master Roshi's hands, and he's just basically just stroking and grabbing Bulma's butt. And it literally focuses on Bulma absolutely raging and foaming. And it just focuses on Master Roshi just giggling and laughing away like a creep. And it's just like, you clearly show him that he's exactly the same person as he was like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
It's like, you haven't tried anything. And it's just like, brilliant.
Like, imagine if this was live action and not animated. No one would like the character. No one would care if he's a cool martial artist and he's funny sometimes. These actions alone would make him hated, despised. I think in animation you can almost get away with it just for the fact it is animated. But
Yeah.
even then, the things he does is just completely wrong.
I think also because it's anime as well,
Hmm.
it helps a lot, because anime, there's a lot of exaggerated features and everything like that.
Yeah.
When someone gets bonked on the head and things like that, and obviously the exaggerated backgrounds and their eyes pop out the head and everything like that.
The
Like,
nosebleeds.
oh, yeah. Like, I think a lot of the exaggeration of it, that lets you get away with a lot more. He would definitely get cancelled. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think especially back in the time, it was more accepted, I guess, kind of, especially because the show was catered towards boys and teenagers. And, you know, as a teenager, they're catering to the audience. They bring in an attractive looking female, and then, you know, they have to, you know, put some sort of appeal there. And the only way they can do it is by having this character who will act out on these impulses, and to see him always fail in a comedic way is a way to get around it and to make it seem not so bad. Whereas, you know, for young teenagers watching at the time, they'll be thinking, yeah, go Master Roshi, I wish I was him right now, I want to be doing this. But yeah, that's how they got around it, and it works. It does work, I guess, but it doesn't make it less less
Creepy,
bad,
yeah.
I guess. Creepy, yeah. Still,
I think he is a staple of Dragon Ball. And I mean, he's never going anywhere. He's been there since the start. He's Roshi's rant, isn't he? Like, he is a staple of Dragon Ball. You can't have Dragon Ball without Master Roshi. It's just like you can't have him without Krillin. It's not just Goku Dragon Ball. It's not Goku show. Even though it feels like that sometimes.
Yeah.
So, but they have started to try to adapt them to the modern age, you can tell. And they've done that with Super. And yeah, whilst they have done it in a very creepy way with Pot, they have made it so that he's more reasonable. Because it's actually what he actually says when he eliminates that lass in the Tournament of Power is that he's overcame those desires. Because I recently just watched a clip. I've wasted so many years with those frivolous desires, and I've got all that pent up energy is now built up, and it's now overflowing. And it sounded kind of creepy, but when you actually listen to the context, it kind of makes it sound like sounds like he's just kind of saying he's full of new life, almost. And so hopefully it means there's going to be more Master Roshi, but in a new way, in like a mentor type way, in the way that we used to see Master Roshi. And the reason that he came into the Tournament of Power in the first place, and why Goku brought him in the first place, because he saw that he'd been training and that he was a bit of a beast. And to be fair, he did flex in the Tournament of Power. For an old man, he got some eliminations. He did more than some other people.
Yeah, and you've got to remember, like, I guess if the show was to come out today and they changed up the Master Roshi character to remove these characteristics from him, and he is just this old wise mentor who trains Goku, and that's it. There's nothing else really to him. I think he would be a bit of a bland character. And even though if you're coming in fresh to watch Dragon Ball now and you see Master Roshi for the first time, you might be thinking, oh wow, okay, this is a really out there character. But he has those characteristics to him which make him stand out. And he's different. And you can hate him. You can dislike him. That's fine. You know, he is meant to be a good guy. But also, if you wanted to hate him, that makes sense. And story-wise, it still works because Bulma is around him, but continuously hates him pretty much. You know, constantly slapping him down, constantly winning, I guess, against everything that he tries. Same with every other female character in the show. So you can see it almost as a win that he is constantly losing. But if they remove those characteristics, I think as a character, he would be pretty boring and lackluster, and he wouldn't have the same effect because he becomes generic in a way, where he is just this old wise master who is good at martial arts. He trains Goku and Krillin, and that's kind of it. He has a few techniques.
He's a cliche.
Yeah, he's a cliche. Yeah. He is, yeah. Eye of the Tiger, all that.
How many times have you heard
Mr.
of the
Miyagi.
wise old man?
Yeah.
How many times have you heard of the wise old man who knows all the martial arts? It's like,
exactly. Yeah.
It's just.
I mean, that was obviously
I
inspiration, but they also made him unique by not being so bland.
Yeah, it's like like the wise old man is always it's a story time itself. It's just you have to add something to it, like, and they obviously did, and it was of the times, and and they've kept with the times, and they obviously recognize that they couldn't get away with it much longer, because there's a younger audience watching Super, and I imagine they probably saw that. I reckon it's probably something to do with maybe parents of these people would probably maybe notice, and they might get in trouble for it. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe they just couldn't be bothered to write them that way, or didn't feel like they wanted to write them that way. Or maybe they just felt like going in that direction. I don't know why they did address it. Maybe they just wanted to go that way. I don't know, but they have addressed it. They have changed it.
It also kind of helps the fact that in original Dragon Ball, he was a main character, not a side character. He was around constantly, just as important as Krillin, who was the second main character of the show. And so he got a lot of screen time, and you had to show off his personality more, which is why most of these things that he did is in original Dragon Ball. In Dragon Ball Z, he gets demoted to a side character because of all of the new Saiyans and all of the other characters coming into the show as well. And he gets less screen time, but when he is shown, they kind of need to show him as still being there and still being that same type of character, so there is these perverted moments that he has, but he's not around as much. And then in Super, he's been demoted even more because even the side characters aren't involved too much in Super. It is mainly all about Goku and Vegeta throughout all of Super. So when you're bringing in Master Roshi, yeah, they need to change him to keep up with the times. So I'm glad they did it. I think having this whole Poir scene was a bit weird and maybe a bit over the top, but I'm glad they did it, and they can bring Master Roshi back properly now going forward, especially with the Tournament of Power stuff. He did so well. He had probably the best episode during the Tournament of Power. And yeah, I want to see more of him going forward. Although I don't really know what they can do with him. You know, most of the characters have new transformations and skills they can learn. Master Roshi is kind of peaked already. Unless they just say, well, because he's not focused on girls anymore, he's had all this time to do new training and has learned all these new techniques. Maybe, but we'll see.
I think it's not a power thing. I think it's a training thing. It's a training based thing. It's a mentality thing.
Yeah,
like it's a focused thing. Like he knows how to take it from a like Whis isn't teaching Goku and Vegeta fighting techniques, is he? He's training them how to learn, or how to potentially learn Ultra Instinct. It's like they could put it down that alleyway, the same for Master Roshi. Not direct fighting, but mentalities.
Yeah. You
Never
can
know.
argue, though, that Master Roshi won't train Goku anymore. Definitely not.
Yeah,
and
true.
all of
He
the
could be
other
past that one.
all of the other all of the other humans in the entire show are on level with Master Roshi at this point. I don't think he's really stronger than any of them, to be honest. So I don't think he'll be training anyone. Tien's got his own dojo now. Krillin's doing his own thing. Yamcha isn't really interested in fighting as much anymore. It's like, unless they bring in a new character for Roshi to train, he's not really going to be doing much training.
I don't know. Like, I think Roshi showed Goku a lot when he showed he'd been training. I think he flexed quite a lot, and I think that's why Goku wanted him there.
Yeah.
And he demonstrated that strength wasn't everything. I think that's the important thing about Master Roshi is he's clever.
Yeah,
he's not strong, he's very clever.
That's true.
There's a reason he's always been there.
Yeah.
And there's a reason he's as old as he is.
That's true. Because of the magazines, that keeps him young at heart.
Very true.
Overall, I think we can agree that if it was just starting today, he is a bad lad. He would get cancelled. He wouldn't survive. But we're both glad he's turned a new leaf, and hopefully that continues going forward. So, yeah, I think we're done with that. So let's move on now to the Hall of Fame.
And now it is time for the Hall of Fame.
And now it's time for the Hall of Fame once again, where myself and Heeroh battle it out to see who is most worthy this week to enter the Hall of Fame. And last week was competing to see who had the best character growth. Myself chose Master Roshi, and you chose Krillin. Who won? Have you got the results?
I do. It was a close one to begin with on the vote. It was very even, going back and forth. But overall, the winner, with 68% of the vote, he broke away, is Krillin. Krillin had the best character progression, growth, development over the entire series. So well done, Krillin. You've entered the Hall of Fame for the second time. He's the first back-to-back Hall of Famer. He has best death and best character progression. So well done.
It's only because his hair's changed a couple of times.
Yeah. Well done, Krillin.
But this week, we're going to go with who's the funny man? The funniest character in Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
Now, we're looking at this from an objective sense. So it's not necessarily who's the most comedic. It's just who we personally find is the funniest from ourselves.
Yeah.
And as a winner, you shall go first.
Okay, so I was thinking about
my person.
We'll see. But I was thinking about it on who I thought was funny, and I looked down a list of characters, and one person stood out to me more than anyone else. And it's mainly because of his facial expressions and the way he acts. But my pick is Hercule, Mr. Satan.
You didn't pick my person. Thank you.
Okay. Well, yeah, Hercule. I love him. I think he's a great character as is. And he is, in my opinion, the funniest Dragon Ball character. He is so overconfident in everything he does, and every single time he gets slapped back to reality in the funniest of ways. And there's so many times where he tries to show off, and his facial expressions especially are incredible. But some of the things he says as well are great. Like even the little things, like he's running full sprint into the tournament, like the tournament arena, getting ready to fight. He's got his cape on, he's got his championship belt around his waist. All the crowd's cheering him on. He's running, he jumps, he does a spin in the air, bam, falls flat on his face. And you can see the bump rising on his head. And you can see the tears in his eyes. And he's just lying there for a few seconds, and the announcer guy's just like, you okay? Then he jumps back up to his feet and he's like, I got you! And you can see the tears in his eyes. But there's so many times with him getting hurt, which are just funny moments. Like, again, in that tournament, when he's facing Trunks, and he knows Trunks is going to beat him. Even though Trunks is a kid, he knows he's completely outmatched. So he's like telling Trunks, please, just like, we've got this ceremony where you just give each other a little light punch to begin the fight. And he like comedically leans over to Trunks, and all the crowd is like, oh, look at him. He's being nice to the kid, giving him the first punch. And Trunks just goes, boop, and his face contorts as the punch goes through him. And he goes flying into the wall. And you see him again just lying on the ground shaking. And then he has to get up and act like nothing happened. It's just such a funny character. There's so many things. Another one during the Boo saga, where him and Dende are trying to sneak up on Boo, and Dende's flying and is holding on to Mr. Satan, and he drops him. And Dende's like, okay, Boo's close by, let's hide down here. And he drops Mr. Satan out of the air, and he's fallen, and he's like wiggling around thinking, what do I do? And he's like, and he starts talking, saying, I'm the world champion, I got this. And he starts doing spins, and he lands, and he's like in a pose, and you're like, okay, he actually landed it. And then it zooms out, and you realize he's landed ball first on a rock, and he's in so much pain. And it's like, yeah, of course, so funny. And I think most of his comedic stuff in the series is just him getting hurt, if I'm honest.
Just pain.
Yeah, but it works. Like, there is no funnier character for getting hurt, and his facial expressions when he's in shock, when he's in fear, when he's getting hurt, so good. And yeah, I like him. Every time he's on screen, he says something, even if it's just him being over cocky, arrogant and stuff. It just comes off funny, and I think he's great. So he is my pick for funniest character in the Hall of Fame, hopefully. But who's yours?
Not a terrible choice. For me personally, it's one of the newbies, and it is the man himself, Whis.
Okay, right. Well, this is going to be a tough one because, yeah, I kind of forgot about Whis.
About it, didn't you?
I forgot about Whis, yeah. Okay.
Oh, you forgot about him. You would have picked him, wouldn't you?
Potentially, yeah. There's a very strong chance, yeah. Oof, okay.
It's everything about Whis, is the way he carries himself. He's just very fabulous, is the best way to... It's the one line, it's just the one-liners and everything like that, and just the way he simply carries himself. It's Ian Sinclair's delivery of Whis. For those who don't know, Ian Sinclair is the voice actor of Whis. If you've not seen him, look him up on YouTube of him doing the voice acting of Whis. He is Whis incarnate. The stance and everything, the voice, the facial expressions, it's all there. He lives for this character.
Yeah.
And it is brilliant. And he just, it's fantastic. I just love the sound, the way he carries himself. And I can't get enough of him. Just whenever I hear him, and the way he delivers, the way he just annihilates Lord Beerus all the time. He just doesn't care anything about Lord Beerus. He'll just lay into him.
Yeah.
He doesn't care about anybody. And he's just willing to just tear anyone apart. And I just think there's a certain something about that just aloofness that whenever he says anything, for the most part, I don't think there's ever a time that he's not on screen where there's not just a smirk on my face in some way. So it's not that he's directly doing anything. It's just his presence on screen that I enjoy. And then, of course, he'll drop a one-liner or something like that, or he'll lay into Beerus, like he'll be doing an impression. Like there was basically when Goku accidentally drops a minute in the Tournament of Power, and Beerus obviously doesn't stop him, and basically Beerus doesn't want Bulma to find out. And Whis is basically saying, should I tell her? like, don't tell her. And he just does an entire impersonation of her. And Whis is just basically doing an entire impersonation of Bulma in his ear, and it's just basically shouting, "Nobody likes you." It's just great.
There's so many moments like that. Like even just like when the world's exploding and then he's just chilling in the background eating ice cream. It's like, go for it, Whis.
And it's Goku, and the first time Goku and Beerus are fighting, Beerus is just saying, "You should be watching me," and he's just like, "I'll be right there," and he's saying it. So this is what you call soy sauce. Just doesn't care. No cares what at all. And it's just, he just brings a smile to your face about how he when Goku turns Ultra Instinct for the first time and he sees it and how excited he gets, and he's like, "He actually did it! I didn't think he actually managed to pull it off. It looks so wonderful." It's not the fact that he actually makes jokes or anything like that. It's just his mannerisms and everything. And I just can't praise Ian Sinclair enough. And for those who haven't watched his performances on YouTube, do it.
Yeah.
I've watched him do multiple iterations. He's an OG fan. I've watched multiple interviews, and he says it's an honor to be able to be in Dragon Ball now. So he takes it all very, very seriously. And you can see that he gets a true pleasure from doing it.
Yeah.
And I mean, he does the Whis stance as he's doing it. So he's stood upright, his hands are behind his back, and he's Lord Beerus. He's just really enjoying himself. So I would strongly advise anybody to see it. But for me, the fabulous man that is Whis is the one that always puts a smile on my face whenever he's on screen.
This is going to be a close one because both characters, Hercule and Whis, are funny for their mannerisms more than them actually just telling jokes or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, but for different ways. Like Whis is because of his like lack of care towards things, whereas
aloofness.
Yeah. Whereas Hercule is just him being abused, which is what's funny. I remember one line where he's trying to kind of distract Kid Buu, and Kid Buu's having a meltdown inside his head because Fat Buu's inside him trying to escape, and he spits him out eventually. But during this time where he's like rolling around, like screaming, holding his head, Hercule's right in front of him after just trying to fake punch him and not doing any damage whatsoever, and he just says, "I don't suppose you're intimidated by my greatness." And it's like, what? Of course not. But it's just so lack of self-awareness is incredible. He thinks he's so strong and powerful and people should fear him, and it's just not the case at all. Love him.
I did have a backup, and it was a man who does, again, for similar reasons as we put a smile on my face, and that is the almighty Frieza. I do love a one-liner from Frieza.
Same.
Yeah, one of my favorite lines in all of Dragon Ball is that "Oh, hello, monkeys." He just loves it so much.
Yeah,
it's one of those lines that it's just you feel it, that he's just powerful, and just anytime someone can threaten him, he just doesn't feel it, and he'll just twist it back round and dig the knife in, and it doesn't matter, and he'll turn anything into just this barb that just proper sinister, just a brutal roast, and you just love it. You really enjoy it. And again, it's not jokes, it's his attitude and his sass,
his charisma. Really, that's it. Like, he's high on my list as well. Like, he's not intentionally funny and he's not trying to be funny, but the way he talks, his charisma levels are off the charts, and that's what makes him such a great character. That's why I love Frieza, and that's why a lot of people love Frieza as a villain. The best villain in maybe anime history. He's so good, and that's because of his charisma and his pronunciation and the way he acts. It's not intentionally funny, but he's just great.
I think the thing is, they've always done right by the voice actors for
Yeah.
Frieza. There have been a few
Mhm.
voice actors, and they've never really gotten it wrong for the most part.
Mm.
I mean, the suit, yes, they've obviously had to change quite a bit, and there've been a few since the originals. There's obviously been reasons they've had to change it recently,
Mhm.
but I think they've done very well, and especially with the super issues they've dealt with Chris Ayres and Damon Mills. They did very well,
Mhm.
and the delivery for them too was fantastic, and
Yep.
I loved it. I
Yeah, me
loved the
too.
super delivery, but from both of them, and I thought it was great. I thoroughly enjoyed Super,
Mhm.
really enjoyed Super because he was funny, but he also used it to attack people.
Yeah.
Like when he was fighting Jiren, he used it to enrage him. He actually used it as a weapon, used it to enrage him, to distract him. He actually points it out, and he uses it as a weapon, and he's been known to do that regularly.
Mhm.
And I like that.
Yeah.
It's one of Frieza's tactics.
Mhm.
I love it.
He's a great character. But for this Hall of Fame, we are narrowing it down, I guess, to your pick of Whis and my pick of Mr. Satan. So them are the two choices. It's going to be a close one. And honestly, I'm not sure again. Like last week I said I wasn't sure who was going to win out of Master Roshi and Krillin for the best character growth. And it was close in the polls too. And this one, I'm not sure either because both have a lot of funny moments. So it'll be interesting. It'll be another close one. But if you want to vote, go check out our social media links down below. Get involved, get voting, and we will find out next episode who enters our Hall of Fame. But for now, let's move on to the hot take.
Hot take.
This is the hot take, the section of the podcast where I have looked online in the forums, on the posts to see any hot takes regarding Dragon Ball, and we will discuss them, see if they're good, bad, ugly, and we'll decide whether or not we agree with it or whether we hate its guts and never want to talk about it again. So I've searched online and this is what I've found. Some guy online has written is written, Ultra Instinct undermines everything Goku has done to be a better fighter. It undermines Roshi's training, Korin's training, Popo's training, and King Kai's training. It's a short one. Well, what do you think about it?
True.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Actually, yes. From a right, yep. I can't disagree with it. Basically, in the essence of the entirety of Dragon Ball, if you think about it, and oddly enough, when I was I typed in a video when I was looking up, I typed in basically Whis' best moments when I was looking at the funny moments for Whis.
Mm-hmm.
And it was this scene where Vegeta and Goku were attacking Whis, and he was explaining Ultra Instinct, and he basically said that Ultra Instinct is where you don't think, your body just reacts.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, everything you know,
forget about it,
is redundant. Your body just does things.
Yeah.
So everything you have been taught or in any way, so other than potentially muscle memory.
It is annoying to me because, like that guy said, with Master Roshi and Popo and everyone else who's trained him, they've taught him to be stronger, they've taught him to be smarter, they've taught him new techniques to help in battle, and these are things he's learned over time. The Kaioken, the Kamehameha, every other technique, and just strength gains and everything that has been taught. And then for Ultra Instinct to come along. And I think they have ruined it with Ultra Instinct, especially by saying, forget everything. Like you just mentioned, like it's your body reacting. Don't think, just let it happen. And it's like all of this stuff that he's learned, all of these other techniques, he doesn't need when in the form. It's just like his body takes over. And yeah, it could be muscle memory, like you say, but also all of this training he's done is worthless. It's not worth it. And also, they've kind of ruined it in a sense that Ultra Instinct is the final form. You can't be better than a form where your body takes over, you dodge everything, you can bend time basically to move around, and you don't even need to think about it. How can you go up from that? I understand with all other transformations with Super Saiyan, you can get a better form of Super Saiyan. You can go Super Saiyan God, you can go Super Saiyan Kaioken, all of this stuff. But when you're at a point where your body is thinking on its own, you don't need to do anything. It's like, you can't improve that. That is the end. You know, can they make a new form after this? And if they do, is it even worth it?
Because if you think about it, the angels are in a constant flux state of Ultra Instinct.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the angels. So they are not in a higher form. That is their form.
Mm-hmm.
If there was a better form, they would be in said form.
Yeah.
We seen said your muscles, when you think about it, can only go so fast. Your neurons can only move by so fast so that you can only tell them to move so fast. So if you're an Ultra Instinct, it's moving on its own. So if someone punches that fast, if your autonomous dodge can't dodge fast enough, there is physically nothing that could dodge that fast. Mm-hmm. So no, logic would dictate that there isn't anything higher than this.
Yeah.
Again, we discussed that we haven't read further ahead in the manga for the most part, other than maybe 1 or 2% worth for context within the podcast, because we don't wish to do that, because we enjoy the anime more. But based on the logic of what we're discussing right now, it wouldn't make sense. You can't Kaioken Ultra Instinct. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, like the only thing that Goku can do as a character to get better is being physically stronger, which would require training, because, you know, his body's not going to react any quicker. We already established this. But he can become physically stronger without a new form. And also changing his shape in general. Like, his shape as a human is always going to be as it is. But if we seen him get extremely giant, like imagine Piccolo's giant form but on Goku, that is the only other way that he could make a better form. Imagine a giant Goku in Ultra Instinct. That would be better. Or a tiny Goku, so he's almost impossible to hit.
Ant-Man Goku.
Yeah, that would be a better version of the form. But apart from changing his actual shape, the only thing he can do is train to become physically stronger. His attacks will hurt more by being able to punch stronger blasts. But as far as a new form goes, that's not going to work unless he changes shape, in my opinion.
However, they've explored that avenue before with Super Saiyan. You get bulkier, you get slower.
Yeah.
So they've actually looked down that avenue, and they've actually talked about that recently in the Goku Black arc, where Vegeta and Trunks were training against each other. Trunks baited him out with the bulky. So they actually acknowledged the slowness. So they've said, so they're still aware that that's a thing. So they can't even do that. Like, so yeah, the guy's ruined Dragon Ball for me. I click that. He's ruined Dragon Ball.
Yeah, because like I mentioned it on a previous podcast. I really, really like the Super Saiyan God form, where it's like a skinny version of Goku, like a non-muscular version. And
like the red one.
Yeah, I would love it if the blue hair was on God, because I like the blue color scheme and everything. I think it looks better than the red hair and everything. But I love the body type that Goku has. It's different and it stands out more. Like the blue God is just another hair color. You know, it looks exactly the same as Super Saiyan, but it's blue instead. There's no other difference. The God form being skinny, and it looks very different. Even his face shape is different. You can still tell it's the character though. That would be cool if that was Ultra Instinct. Imagine you know, you get Ultra Instinct, your body moves on its own, and he's skinny, and it's like, yeah, he has changed, but no, he's just still bulky, still the same. He's just now grey hair with white eyes.
I'll never understand the decision they made to skip red to blue
Yeah,
in such a short period of time.
I know. I think
I
it's
mean, the
like
amount of time from Super Saiyan 1 to 2 compared to Red God to Blue,
yeah,
like that's insane, the
yeah.
difference.
It's like when they were thinking about bringing Super back, they were like, okay, we need to make a new form here. Great. So let's bring in Super Saiyan God, which they did. Battle of Gods was the first thing released as a comeback for Dragon Ball in like 10 or so years or whatever. So it makes sense to make a new form, and they made it stand out with the skinny body and stuff. And then it was like, okay, we're going to make a show. Now, now what? Is this going to be the end, or are we going to think of something else? And we haven't used blue as a color yet. So, yeah, why not? And then it got out of hand from there.
I think they should have, even if what they'd done is they'd used red during Freezer, and then when they couldn't use blue to defeat Goku Black, so they couldn't, instead of doing that silly sword nonsense, develop blue to become powerful enough to defeat Goku Black.
Yeah,
And you've had an entire arc worth to develop. You couldn't. Red wasn't powerful enough because at least because then you've got roughly the same amount of time, maybe. Obviously, a fair few episodes less between Super Saiyan 1 and Super Saiyan 2. Probably a fair few episodes less, but at least a good, decent arc's worth time frame between two forms.
Yeah, but then we might have the same problem where as soon as the blue god is mastered to defeat Goku Black, all of a sudden Tournament of Power starts and they're learning Ultra Instinct, and then that's gone just as quick as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
At least it would feel like there was some spacing,
Yeah,
rather than just red blue, hinting at Ultra Instinct.
yeah. I just think they did one too many forms throughout Super. They could have left it at Red Guard and then Ultra Instinct if they wanted to. We didn't need the blue form. It looks exactly the same, except it's just another power up. So yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Doesn't change. It looks cool. Like I said, I prefer the blue color over the red. I think it stands out more. But as a form overall, the Red Guard with the body shape difference and stuff, I prefer that a lot more. But that's kind of a tangent. Going back to the Ultra Instinct question, yeah, completely undermines everything.
Yeah, I think it does. Yeah, I think really we went off on a tangent basically because you can't really say no. I mean, there's not really a lot to talk about. The whole point of Ultra Instinct is to not think.
Yeah.
It is to become an empty vessel and allow your body to react. And literally training is to receive lessons and to act on said lessons. And to act on those lessons requires you to think. Hence learning, whereas Whis tells them not to do that. So like learning only gets you so far. Learning gets you powerful to the point where you get to learn with Whis, and then Whis takes you to the next step. So yeah.
I mean, I completely agree with the take as well. I think it has kind of diminished everything beforehand. And like you say, it's hard to argue. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. Really, I got any final thoughts?
No, I mean it's. I think we went off on a tangent basically because of that, but because of where it leads and what it makes you think. Is because of what we were talking about is what Ultra Instinct is, and what the other forms are like what Red God is, what Blue God is, and why they matter, and why they're important, and
Mhm.
why Ultra Instinct is endgame.
Yeah.
Because it just negates everything, whereas Red God and Blue God still serve a purpose because everything else is still relevant
Mhm.
with them. The basics still matter with them. Knowing how to throw a punch still matters when you're Blue God. Knowing how to throw a punch doesn't really because you're not thinking.
Yeah.
Like everything's just happening when you're in Ultra Instinct. So yeah, no, it does. It's negated everything previously because your body is reacting of its own accord.
Yeah.
What you could argue is your body is taking the lessons that it has previously learned and subconsciously using them.
You could say that, but that's not the way
But
Elise described it.
yeah. So you're not inherently using them yourself, but again, that's still your body firing and doing things and thinking, just not you actively doing it. So
Potentially.
again, it's still neurons firing and doing things. Like,
Yeah.
so it's not really how we described it.
No, it's not at all. So, yeah, I think we're both in agreement that
Yeah.
we agree with this. Yeah, Ultra Instinct kind of just
Again,
finishes
yeah.
everything that Goku's trained for over the
His
entire
entire
series.
life.
Yeah, his entire life. Yeah. But that's going to be it for this podcast. I guess we can wrap it up there. So thank you for watching if you have joined us all the way until the end. Please like up the video, it helps us out a lot. Subscribe down below, check out the polls for the Hall of Fame segment, and other than that, we will see you all next time.
See ya.